Hello and welcome back to our video series on digital reform. Today we're going to look at the DSA requirements around content moderation programs and in particular how they affect users of online platforms. To provide some insight onto this user journey, I'm joined by my colleague Rosemarie Blake, Senior Associate in the Technology and Innovation Group.
Thanks, Aoife.
So the DSA, we know, puts in place obligations for intermediary services and how they handle complaints regarding content that's posted on their platforms. And specifically today, we're going to look at kind of the user journey in terms of the information they get about content to be posted, the rights they have when content's taken down, and kind of the other redress mechanisms that are open to them. But I suppose before we get to the meat of how content is taken down, it might be helpful to take a step back and think about users when they're posting content on an online platform in the first place. I suppose if you're a user posting content, where do you start in terms of making sure the content you are posting doesn't fall afoul of rules of that platform?
Well, Aoife, viewers of this video series will know by now that the DSA has a big focus on transparency. So the first port of call for the users is going to be the platform's terms and conditions. So Article 14 of the DSA applies to all intermediary service providers. So that's everyone in the inverted pyramid of regulation that we've been discussing throughout the video series. So everyone from the mere conduit providers right through to the online platforms, and at the very top, the VLOPs and VLOSs. So all of those entities are required to provide users with information in their terms and conditions, not only in relation to their policies, but also in relation to their procedures, measures and tools involved in content moderation. And then notably, it's also explicitly mentioned that there's a need to provide information in relation to the decision-making process involved in content removal, and specifically the use of automated means, including the use of the human review aspect. And then in relation to the use of automated means, the terms and conditions also have to be clear to the user on two things regarding algorithms. And that's one, how algorithms impact and influence the services that are being provided. And then secondly, how the content is restricted through the use of algorithm decision-making and human review.
Okay, so to avoid falling afoul of restrictions on the platform, the terms and conditions are going to provide that insight into the decision-making process and the use of any automated tools that form part of it. Just to stay with the user journey, I suppose, if a user has content that is taken down or restricted, could you tell us what the available options are for a platform user there if they want to contest that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting off, if you're posting content on hosting services, which includes online platforms that make information available to the public, Article 17 of the DSA applies, and it provides that if your posted content has been taken down, you have the right to be provided with a clear and specific statement of reasons, setting out the facts and circumstances involved in the decision taken. So the user also has to be informed whether the content's been taken down, say if another user has reported their content, or whether it's been flagged through the platform's own internal investigation, say their own volition inquiry.
Okay, so the user has this entitlement to a statement of reasons if their content's taken down. Is there anything else the DSA requires providers to include in their statement of reasons?
Yeah, so Article 17 provides a very prescriptive list of information which has to be provided to the user. So that includes information on the territorial scope of the decision, the duration of the content removal, and also whether AI was used to identify and disable the content. And additionally, if the decision has been found on illegality, the statement of reasons would need to reference the law that's been contravened. And if the content has been deemed to violate the terms and conditions, the statement of reasons has to reference the contractual ground the platform is relying upon, and it also has to state why the content is in breach of that contractual ground.
Thanks, Rose. And it's worth mentioning that that concept of illegal content under the DSA is something we're going to return to in a later video in this series. But I suppose with the user, if they receive their statement of reasons and reading through it, they don't agree with the decision that the platform has made, do they have any rights to contest the decision?
They do. If you're looking to contest the content restriction decision taken by an online platform, you've got up to 6 months from the date you're informed of the decision to lodge a complaint to appeal. And the platform is required to handle the complaint in a timely, non-discriminatory, diligent and non-arbitrary manner. And in Article 20 sets out that in handling the complaint, the platform is required to do 3 key things. Firstly, to reconsider the decision. And then if they find there's reasonable grounds to consider the content was in fact legitimate and compliant, potentially reverse it. And then secondly, to inform complainants without undue delay of their reasoned decision in respect to the complaint. And then lastly, they have to ensure that any decision is taken by appropriately qualified staff and not solely on the basis of automated means.
Okay, so that's the internal process in terms of appeals, but I suppose the user journey doesn't necessarily end there, because I think the DSA clarifies that the internal process of the platform is without prejudice to any rights that the user might have to take a court action, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So for users who are looking to initiate a complaint against an online platform, Article 20 says the platform is obliged to notify the users of their available options. Namely, they can go to the platform's internal appeals process, they can take an independent legal action, or you can go to an out-of-court dispute resolution process.
Okay, so the out-of-court dispute resolution process that the DSA envisages, it can kind of act as a bit of a middle ground for disgruntled users who are not satisfied with the decision. Could you walk us through briefly what the out-of-court dispute mechanism involves?
Yeah, absolutely. So in relation to online platforms, users are entitled to select any out-of-court dispute settlement body that's been certified by the Digital Services Coordinator of the member state in question. So for Ireland, that's Commission Man. And then that body can help to resolve disputes relating to the decisions of the platform provider. And that extends to complaints that can't be resolved by an internal complaints handling system. And then notably, if the settlement body decides the dispute in favour of the user, the platform provider will bear the costs of the dispute resolution, and they also need to reimburse the user of any reasonable costs they've incurred because of this. And then if the settlement body finds in favour of the platform provider, the user is not required to reimburse their fees unless they've been found to be acting in bad faith.
Okay, and I suppose we've focused mainly on the user journey here as a means of threading through all the obligations under the DSA. So from providing information about decision-making processes to how the decision gets made and the information needed to support it, to the rights the user has in respect to that decision. It seems like putting this together for platform providers, there is going to be a significant compliance lift.
There is, and lots of online service providers will already have content moderation systems, but there's certainly going to be a lot of work involved in ensuring that the existing programs are in alignment with the obligations under the DSA.
Well, thank you very much for sharing all those insights today, Rose. That's all we have time for in this video, but all of the videos in our digital reform series are available on the Arthur Cox website. Thank you very much for watching.